All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening to Fire Breathing Rob. If you are listening to us on YouTube, thanks so much. Please subscribe, like, and share. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, if you're listening to us on Amazon, Stitcher, and I'm sure I forgot Spotify too. I always forget one. Thanks so much. If you're listening to us on the radio too, as far as the interview segment, thanks so much for listening. Please tell your friends, your family. We want to get this out to as many people as possible. So we have a person that I'm extremely fond of because I've saw him perform many, many times at the theme parks. And he was in one of my favorite shows where I went to almost 300 some odd times, which people will probably think I'm a little insane because of that, but that's par for the course. That was the American Idol experience, which closed on August 30th, 2014. But we're going to bring a little bit of that magic back and also talk about this man's acting career because he's been doing so many things all over Orlando. And this is Cameron Matthews. For people that don't know him, he is an MC, a travel host, a hype man, a character actor, and I'm going to get tongue-tied saying all these words, a teaching artist and an improviser. Cams, thanks so much. This is an honor.
You're welcome, Rob. Thanks for having me on your show. This is cool.
All right, so before we even get into the interview, what is a teaching artist?
Oh, okay. So a teaching artist. That title, I first got it when I was teaching for Disney Performing Arts. So if you've ever been to the parks and you see a marching band in the park or a performance group down at Disney Springs, those are Disney Performing Arts. And when those choirs and those bands, they come on down, acting groups, they come on down, they also have the option to take a workshop with a resident professional teaching artist who works at Disney. So I taught Broadway workshops, I taught acting and show choir workshops back when I was with the Mouse.
If you could tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, I know I gave you that little brief introduction. There's so
Sure.
much more about you than I even spoke about. So if you can give the audience a little bit more about you.
Yeah, sure. So, Cameron Matthews, I grew up in Southern California and wanted to be an actor probably since I was 11 or so when my parents took me to see Phantom of the Opera in Los Angeles. That was what the acting bug bit there. And I also grew up going to Disneyland, and I always wanted to work there. So I made it my very first job. I auditioned in '97 for the Hercules Victory Parade, and I was a hero wannabe on a float with a bunch of out-of-shape guys getting yelled at by Phil to get buff and strong like Hercules. And that's where my Disney career began in '97. Up until the recent layoffs, I was with Disney for over 23 and a half years.
Oh, okay.
In entertainment. So a variety of
Right.
different shows and parades. And I was in entertainment the entire time, in addition to working on corporate events and as a teaching artist from time to time with Disney Performing Arts.
Right. So obviously, I'm thinking, well, actually, before I was going to talk about COVID, but we'll talk about that because I can edit around all this. I do want to talk about the move from California to Florida. You went to UCLA and did acting and performance arts there, obviously, before you went to Disney. With
Yes.
that said, obviously Disneyland is in California. We think of the movies and theater, and there's all sorts of great opportunities. And that's where people go to get into singing, dancing, acting is California. So what made you want to make that
So what
move
made me
from,
want to leave it? I
yeah,
get this question a lot. Why did you want to leave it? Uh, you know, um, yes, you are correct. LA and Hollywood is a film town. Yes, that's what it really is. But I grew up wanting to do musical theater, and believe it or not as much musical theater opportunities as you may think in Southern California. It does exist, but not a lot. So why did I leave California? Well, I was at the time in a show called Block Party Bash at Disney's California Adventure, which was for the 50th anniversary of the Disneyland Resort. And that parade slash street show was moving to Disney's Hollywood Studios. And it came at a time when my wife and I, were just looking for new opportunities. And we kind of felt we had done all we could have really done at Disneyland. So I put in for the opportunity to go out there and essentially auditioned and came over with the exact same job I did in California, and I brought it out here to Disney's Hollywood Studios and ended up closing it here as well. And that's what began my Walt Disney World entertainment career.
So we go into being an actor, and obviously you've been an actor for, considerable amount of time through Disney and other opportunities that you've been in. With that said, what really makes a good actor?
Ooh, that's a good question, Rob. What makes a good actor? I think professionalism is a big thing, and you need to
Mhm.
be personable. Um, you can work with many actors who are the opposite of those two things in this industry, and that's not uncommon. So I think what makes a great actor, one that is just you want to work with. As a teaching artist, I teach audition workshops, and I always say when you walk into the room, make me want to hire you. Make me want to hire you because auditioning for actors is job interviews for everyone else. It's the same thing. It is a job interview. So you're trying to win over the casting folks who are, in charge of giving out those jobs. So, being personable, taking direction is very important. Talent, of course, is part of the equation. But I think in the end, really, it's your work ethic and your professionalism and are you just a fun person to work with?
Oh, obviously, you're doing coaching now. Kids growing up, they're younger kids in their 20s, working with those kids. Now, we live in an age of social media, Cam, and you know this, where
I didn't grow up in a social media age. I'm dating myself right now, but that's
no,
the truth.
there's trolls behind the computer screen and behind the phone screen that like to heckle and talk a lot of
Back in
junk.
my day, Rob, we had pagers. I had a pager in high school.
Hey, I'm 32. I didn't get a, smartphone until I was 21. So I was a very late bloomer as far as that
Yeah.
goes.
I just had that Nokia that everyone may remember from back in the 90s that had changeable face
Right.
plates, if you remember that. That was the
I,
coolest thing.
but like going back to the question, Cam,
Yeah.
there are, like we said, those trolls behind the screens, and someone follows you on Instagram or follows you on Facebook, and they say, "Hey, Cam, you had a crappy joke tonight, or you look terrible." And it kind of, if you really let that get to you, it'll wear you down personally. And some people, like you, I feel like you have a real good presence on stage, and I don't think you could really be broken down. Now you can get into that in a second if that's not true, but there there are
Cameron, how's your
people,
mental health? Oh, we could have a discussion.
but there are people that can get broken down by social media and heckling in general.
Absolutely.
So would you coach people or tell young actors that may be listening to this in general to not let that phase you and to try to, get above that or rise above it?
That's these are good questions, Rob. It's the acting world and very much coincides with social media. Unfortunately, I think we rely upon it. I think beyond acting, for many jobs we do having a presence these days online, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, but also things like LinkedIn. You're trying to have a presence of some sort to show what you do. And hopefully showing the best you. So, the advice I would give to students of mine tying into the social media aspect would be keeping your social media present as something you'd be proud of, right? Keeping it pretty straight for the course. Don't sound off on too many political things or what have you, unfortunately, because I'm not saying don't do that, but unfortunately, in a social media age, that can affect your career, and that could be beyond acting, because companies look at that. So it's a difficult thing. What do I do personally? Honestly, in the past year and a half with everything that has been going on, I only use it to market my business. And other than that, I'm really not on it because I find it very negative, or I'll find things that will just kind of hit me in a funny way that I'm like, oh, I wish I had not seen that, and all those different feelings can come up. So what I have found that is healthier for me is to stay actually off of it as much as possible.
I agree.
and trying to still build followers, but it's that weird balance.
But don't you feel like you built a pretty good brand at Disney? I mean, like you said, you were all over the place. You've done tons and tons of jobs for Disney. People know who
I
the
was
heck you
very
are.
blessed. I was very lucky, yes,
Yeah.
to have had a lot of opportunity with that.
Yeah.
And some of those opportunities have helped propel my own
Right.
business now, which is I'm very thankful for.
Mhm.
Which is another thing to say to actors.
Mhm.
What makes a good actor?
Mhm.
You're always auditioning. Even if it's not an audition, you're always auditioning. And I think that's good advice for anyone in this world. You never know who you're going to meet, and you never know down the line if you made a connection with them, or they're your boss someday, or they're going to change your life with an amazing opportunity. You never know, right? So it's not being fake, but I think you're always auditioning, you're always putting your best self out there. And that's what I did 23 plus years at Disney, is give the best I could, right? And now I'm taking all of that experience and, you know, being an entrepreneur now and continuing my career. I'm not going to let COVID end it.
Right. Now, I appreciate that. It's great advice for anybody that wants to start their own business and great advice for people that want to get into acting in general. I do want to talk about this. You kind of brought up mental health, and obviously it's taken a toll on, I'll admit, myself during this tough time
Ditto.
of
Ditto.
COVID-19 and
Oh,
many
yeah.
people. Yeah. So with that said, I had the question was, there's a lot of people that get nervous when they go on stage. I saw you rock it out so many times at Idol, literally say rock it out and run around on stage. And, even to go into this, you had that kick. God, that kick was so dang high. I don't, every time you did that dang kick, I see you on stage. I say, how the heck does that guy kick
Kick
that
is my
high?
money maker. No, I'm
You
kidding.
ain't kidding. It really is. So, but to go back into it, what would you tell people that, want to get into performing? They feel it in their bones and in their soul in general, but they're nervous to go on stage. They have some sort of social anxiety.
Well, I think that's two different. Honestly, I think that might be two different things. Social anxiety, just being afraid to be around people, or go out
True.
in
Yeah, that's
public,
fair.
right? Um, so to answer the question about being nervous on stage,
Yeah.
um, you know, uh, when I would teach, young artists, especially at Disney Performing Arts, I would say to them, if do you ever feel like you're out there and you feel you can't give 100% of your performance because you're afraid what people are going to say about you or think about you? And I go, you've got to try your best to get past that mindset. And I usually give this example from, funny enough, Funny Girl, the musical. And long story short, there comes a part in the show where she disobeys what the director wants her to do, and he gets mad about it, but the audience loved it. And he goes, did you see, they were all laughing at you? And she goes, no, they weren't laughing at me, they were laughing with me. You can't hurt me if I'm already in on the joke, right?
Right.
So that's what I say to my students. I go, if you feel like you're you're too vulnerable out there and that you're afraid what people are going to think, because being vulnerable means you're afraid of what people are going to say about you or what they think about you, right? At least for the most part. So as soon as you get in the mindset of going, I'm actually an actor, I'm not this person I'm playing, or if it is improv and it is a person you're playing, it's a version of yourself. Yeah, you're already in on the joke, and if the audience isn't in on that you're playing someone, well, then that's their loss. That's their loss. They need to catch up. That's how I always approach it. So you need to be in on the joke first, that it's a joke in quotes, and I think that should be freeing to you as soon as you kind of click into that.
Right.
So like American Idol, I've got no shame of being absolutely ridiculous on stage because funny enough, people would say to my wife all the time, oh my gosh, you must laugh and like all the time. And I'm actually a very calm person, that's a persona that, when I'm on stage and I'm doing the job, I mean, that's what I do. And I love doing it, but it's not who I am completely, it's a version of myself. I
I'll
would say
tell
that
you,
to any role. I would say I would do that to any role I play.
right.
There's a part of me in there, but for the most part, I enjoy playing someone else, and that's the freeing part about it.
I'll tell you, you would give it all you had up there on stage in Idol. It was pretty impressive. I wouldn't
Oh, thank
laugh
you.
at you. I'd be laughing because I can't believe that you could do, like I said, the kicks and the dance moves. And I remember you did that
Biting
Beyonce
my lower
single.
lip.
Yeah. How about the Beyonce, the single ladies move? It
Oh
was,
yeah,
yeah.
we
See,
did a
I
lot of
remember all
single
that
ladies. We did a
stuff.
lot of, gosh, Dynamite was a
Yeah,
big song
Dynamite.
then.
Yeah, right.
Dynamite was like my
Yes.
go-to song to warm up with.
That's true. So true. So I got a couple of audience questions and I want to move on to Idol. So can you talk about some successes you had on stage and also some failures?
Here, I'll say this. I think a big success of my career was something I never got paid for,
Hmm.
believe it or not. And I'm not saying that actors go out there and just work for free. I'm definitely not one to say that. Uh, but I did do a production. It was like 4 years ago this week, believe it or not, because it's all popping up on my Facebook feed, that I was in a production of Hairspray with my wife, believe it or not. It was at the Dr. Phillips Center here in
Hmm.
Orlando. Uh, and it was incredible. We sold out that huge theater of over
Wow, that's
2,500
impressive.
seats,
Yeah.
3,000 seats, I think it is, for the entire production. And that was for me like the closest to Broadway I felt I would get. Because funny enough, as a side note, I had the Broadway bug, or at least I wanted to go. That was a big reason why I moved to Florida, because I got my equity card
Hmm.
to do so. And I actually went up to New York and would do some auditions and then fly back home. But I just learned very quickly that pounding the pavement wasn't for me. And I needed to do that to know it. And I'm glad, like, I knew right then. I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me, and that's okay. So that production of Hairspray for me on a big, like a professional stage, outside of Disney, was I think the closest to Broadway for me. So that's a big success to me. And just tying into success, I know I keep sounding like a teacher, but I guess I'm passionate about
You
that.
are a teacher.
Thanks. Uh, and I'm stealing this actually from my wife Hannah, who is very wise too. And she says, you know, um, Broadway is where you make it. Broadway is not New York City. Broadway, in quotes, is where you are successful doing what you love to do, right? So for like 23 years, that's what Disney was, for me, was that was my Broadway. I was fulfilled there, right, for that. And now being my own businessman and learning what works and trying to become successful at that, this is my new focus of my new Broadway goal is
That's actually a
that.
great quote. That's a great quote,
Broadway is where
actually. Yeah,
you
I like it.
make it.
Right.
Yeah, that's Broadway. Because
Right.
so many grow up, going, I want to be on Broadway someday. And of course, that's great. If that's what you want to do, that is fantastic. Uh, but that doesn't have to be the be all end all of a theater actor's success,
Right.
because there's so much more that there's so much more out there that an actor can provide, that a stage manager can provide, that a tech can provide, that a costume artist can provide. All of these artists that are in the envelope of theater and entertainment, there's so much more than just New York City out there. And there's people all over this country, all over this world that want it. Which is why I think so many of us are just crawling to try to get this industry back,
Mhm.
you know?
So can I push back and ask you about the failure though? That something that you maybe failed at, but you finally rose
Oh,
above it.
sure. Oh, there's lots of failure. There's lots of failure. And also like I'll say, what I feel like something I did not do well at. I was very lucky to have been asked to do a brief remount of the Comedy Warehouse with Disney.
Oh yeah.
And they brought those back for a couple holidays at Hollywood Studios,
Right.
just for a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of folks, the old pros who had done it forever, came back, but they brought some newbies in, new blood, as well. And personally, I just didn't feel that great at it.
Mhm.
The whole time I'm like, I like to improv, but maybe I'm not as good at it as I thought I was, or this is a different kind of improv. I don't know. I never walked away in the 2 times I did it successful at it. But that was no reason to not
Do it.
keep pursuing what I love to do. So maybe I'm not the best at whose line is it anyway, which is what Comedy Warehouse to me is, you know, but taking that improv skill and being able to be punny and funny on a street as a 1940s actor, or being able to talk on the fly as a host. And I love interviewing people. So that's a version of improv as well. Yeah, you can have all improv has a structure to it, but what happens in the moment, you just go with. And that's, I think that's how I take what I succeed more at improv with is in a host aspect, if I could talk, than what I did at Comedy Warehouse. So not a complete failure, but if you wanted something I didn't feel I did very good at, maybe that.
As far as a theatrical play, I know you said Hairspray, so maybe that's the answer to this question. As far as your favorite event that you hosted or a theatrical play that you were involved in. So I'll assume if I'm
Yeah, I
right.
mean, Hairspray was very memorable. You know, it was a great production to be in. I remember doing a production of How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which was my very first like professional equity gig outside of Disney. And I did a full orchestra with the Orlando Philharmonic, and that was great. And I got to play a bucket list role, so that was great.
Wow.
You know, and yeah.
Okay. So let's move into Idol, more into my wheelhouse.
Sure.
So I want to kick this
What do you
around.
want to know?
So we'll start off with this. You know, you've done all these projects at Hollywood studios and around Disney, going back to 2009. Or did you start? First of all, I should ask, did you open up in 2009, or how did you get involved in the audition process to do American Idol?
So I was doing Block Party Bash at Hollywood Studios.
Mm-hmm.
That started in '08, and then in '09, the role I was doing in Block Party Bash, they needed to find something to kind of make our day longer. So the hosts of the Block Party Bash, which I was, we got tied to American Idol. And we started out as the field producers, which were not in the main show at all, but we were an actor equity role. And the field producer worked with a cameraman or woman, and they did the video package interview for the participant number 2 on the show. They facilitated all that. So they would do the interview with them. They would take them around the park and get them doing fun stuff. And then that footage went to an editor, and then they put that in the show for them. So that's where I actually started. I did that for actually a couple of years, was just a field producer. And then I think Block Party had ended and things shift around like they do. And I ended up becoming a warm-up host. And that's how I got into the warm-up host. But I was with American Idol from beginning to end.
But you seem like you would, obviously, I think you were great as a warm-up host. Did they ever shift you into like a regular host? Maybe if somebody was off?
I always I always wanted to, as you probably can tell, I like hosting. So that was definitely something I wanted. I did audition for it. I never got it to be the actual show host, but it just wasn't the right time. It just wasn't the right time yet. I think I needed to kind of, I don't know, build up some experience with it, because Idol was the very first like hosty thing I really did. And then I started doing some award events for Disney, and then I did the television warm up for ABC, and that was a highlight of my career, to be on the Cinderella Castle stage for 8, 12, 14 hours in a day, and I'm just entertaining the audience to keep them alive and awake in between the long periods of filming. So
but did they bring those? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. That was it.
Oh, no, I was just saying, but did they bring those people in? Like, I was told that they brought Greg Hudson in, and I don't know about Chris Kim, but I was told specifically that they brought Greg Hudson in to do that show.
I mean, he would have to have he auditioned for it, and then
But he wasn't a Disney person, though, at all, right?
He wasn't. No.
No.
That was the only thing I believe he ever did it with Disney, was that. And a couple just event hosting things.
Right.
Yeah.
But was the other people like Jeanette and Chris Kim, were they affiliated with Disney at all before that, or no?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
They did different roles as well.
Oh, okay. All right. So going back into Idol, so you were with Idol for the full time, correct? From 2009 on. And then we talk about like my question is, and I asked this to all the judges and warm-up guys that we've had on, people involved with the show, is did you know that there was people that would religiously go to Idol and follow, people like you and the judges and the hosts?
I never thought anyone followed me personally, but no, we definitely saw familiar faces. Any show I've done at Disney ends up having some sort of its own fan base.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've been with Disney for quite a long time. My thing was with Idol was obviously it was a whole different show that anything that I have ever saw at Disney, because there's different judges all the time, different hosts, different singers, and just that whole experience of people that are regular Disney people, as far as guests, I should say, just trying out and going on stage, and no one knows what's going to happen from there, if they're going to be good, bad, or mediocre. So
Right.
with that said, is that like the only show you've been a part of that's been even close to that?
Yeah. I mean, Idol was its own beast. I mean, it really was. It had so many different departments who all worked together, from office and technical to casting, and they had casting directors, and then you had the technical, and you had the costuming, and then you had the actors, and we had vocal coaches, and we had cosmetologists. So there was just so many hands on it. So yeah, that's definitely the largest. It's very unique. Yes.
But was that the only show you were working on at the time? Because I was told that some people would work at Idol and then they'd shift to Indiana Jones or shift here.
Well, for the most, a lot of actors, I mean, we're talking back then now, right?
Right.
So a lot of actors back then they usually had a home stage where they were contracted, because
Sure.
the actors you're speaking of, the judges and the hosts, we're all under 1-year contracts. We're never guaranteed our job the next year. So every year you have to be offered the job again and negotiate from there. But a lot of us were utilized at other stages throughout property as well. A lot of us, yes.
Okay, because I know some people said they were and some people were not. So
Some were, I mean, some only did Idol, but, and some, depending if you've been with Disney a long time, you may have built up a knowledge of so many different shows on property, and it just comes with time.
So
But that was then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rob, that
Yeah,
was
no,
then.
I hear you. It's sad. It's sad what happened, but hopefully it gets back to normal sometime. But anyways, we hope that your business does well anyway,
Thank
regardless of
you.
what happens. But I do want to talk more about Idol. So can you give the audience that are listening a funny story and a special moment, or maybe it's both in one, that happened to you while you were working at the American Idol experience?
There's so many like memories of it. Like I remember being the field producer, and I was interviewing someone who made it onto the show, and we were outside in front of the blue backdrop. And the cool thing about American Idol was we were tied to the television show in that when the show was actually airing, and when the newest American Idol was chosen, they actually came and filmed stuff for us because they were implemented into the show. And usually the top 5 came as well, or the runner-up. But I was interviewing someone, and they're like, I would always ask, hey, who's your favorite American Idol? And at that time, Chris Allen was on American Idol. And they're like, I love Chris Allen, and I love this song, and blah, blah, blah. And wouldn't you know it, right when they said it, he walked around the corner.
Oh.
Because he was there filming stuff for us at the time. He had just been crowned. And he came around the corner, and we got him in the shot, which was really cool. It just was kind of perfect timing. So that's really cool. That's a cool moment for the guest.
Right.
And then a funny moment. I mean, you name it. I love talking to a guest who will just be absolutely ridiculous or silly on camera, or maybe they're totally falling asleep, and I'll sit right next to them and I'll do the entire spiel and showing people how to vote with the armrest, and they're just sleeping the whole time. That's kind of my comedy. I like that stuff.
I was told that a lot of people that would sing were drunk, and I heard there was some instances where people would actually swear sometimes, whether they were singing or with the warm-up
I don't
people.
remember any foul language, but
No.
With alcohol in the park. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I don't though
Right.
remember anyone sloshed.
Okay. I was just curious. Maybe that person just had that issue, but I'm not sure. I just
I don't
figured
know.
I'd ask that because I know you worked a pretty good amount of shows. So,
Oh, sure.
So- all right. So going to that, who were your closest friends while you were working at the experience?
Oh gosh. Who are my now it's gonna be like a who's the favorites game here.
Oh, no.
I'll tell like who I love working with will be like Angela Napoleon. Like I love working
Yeah.
with Angela Napoleon. I think she's fun and so smart, smarter than I think people think she is, and knows what she's talking about, knows how to entertain, and knows how to give a great show. So she's one of my favorite people.
I want to get your take on this. So Idol closed. I was told by quite a few judges that were, I guess, I guess I'll frame it like this. When Idol closed, quite a few people were really affected by that closing. I was told a lot of people didn't have backup plans. Some people did. But you worked at Idol. I know you did Mulch, Sweat, and Tears. I know that closed down in 2015, but you seem like you had more of a backup plan, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, than a lot of other people. But I guess the main question is, how did the American Idol experience affect you when it closed?
Uh, I was a lucky one because I did not have. I really didn't think there was going to be a job for me when that show closed. And when any show
Oh,
closes, whether it's Disney or anywhere, it's on to the next gig. I mean, that is what comes with this profession. Uh, and it's so funny because I love stability, and I chose the wrong profession for stability. I really did. Uh, do I have a backup plan? I never had a backup plan because I just was fortunate enough to have kind of ride the wave as long as I had. Going into when Idol closed, I ended up getting right then and there. They had an open spot over with the Hollywood Studios film crew, which was a branch of the Citizens of Hollywood, which is
mhm.
how I got over there. So I went directly from Idol to there.
So you just did Mulch. That were you a
I
sub?
was just a sub. I was just a
Oh,
substitute.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I
I
didn't know.
love Mulch, Sweat, and Cheers. P.S. That I've never felt cooler in my life. I will never front a rock band on a big stage like that ever again. So I've
Under the
never
mouse
felt that.
hat.
I've never
Yeah.
felt that cool because those guys were cool.
Yeah, no, it was a good show.
It
I'm
was a great
sad that
show.
they got rid of all these shows at Hollywood Studios. And I feel like it's just a matter of time before Indiana Jones goes and Beauty and the Beast go. And it's
It's
really
a scary
sad.
time, I think, for theme park entertainment.
Yeah.
It's a uh, things have really changed in the past, 10, 15 years with theme parks. I really think Harry Potter
Yeah.
changed a lot of things for the theme park business of really going into immersive lands, which I think are fantastic. But what often comes is at cost is the entertainment that people loved, which drew them to becoming such a theme park goer in the first place. I think cell phones and social media, everything being on our phone now, has changed a theme park experience where we're too glued to these. I have a fast pass or I have a reservation. I can't enjoy this moment of entertainment
You're
because
right.
I'm booked. I have to go. It's funny because you're on vacation. You shouldn't be so structured. But what has become a theme park vacation is planning it all, you
Yeah.
know? And that has hurt entertainment, in my
But
opinion.
yeah.
So yeah, it's not a great time to be a theme park entertainer, if I'm frank and honest with you. It's just not because I think some organizations, some companies don't see the dollar sign coming in from that experience because unless it's a dinner show that makes money, you
Right.
know, something else that's just may look like fluff but is a great experience. Nowadays, if it doesn't produce some dollar sign on a chart, is it necessary? And I don't think, and I think how theme parks have been operating since COVID and coming back, and this is not just Disney, this is across the board, that um, people, tourists, are so hungry just to go that they'll pay for this. They'll pay the same amount to get less.
I agree.
And I mean, if I was a businessman, well, then clearly we don't need all this other stuff because they're going to come anyway.
Well,
And
it hurts.
and that's detrimental to entertainment in general.
I agree.
If you just want to go that bad, well, and then you're condoning what is offered. You're condoning the behavior, and that they don't have to provide anything else. They don't have to bring back these shows that maybe you loved, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, there was so many good shows.
That's my honest opinion on it.
Yeah, there was so many good shows. I remember they used to have the Toy Story parade. They had the Frozen parade at Hollywood Studios.
But even even parades, I think
there's nothing.
May be a thing of the past. I mean, parades are what drew me to being. I loved the Main Street Electrical Parade. Like that's what I loved as a kid, and that's what drew me to wanting to work there. But parade mentality, it's just not. It's not an offering. There used to be a parade in every park.
Yes.
At one point there was, and now we don't have a parade anywhere, really. Universal, God love them, they're doing it, right? They're bringing some of that. But these mini cavalcades, and you see people who are saying, this is, oh, I love these things. That kind of feedback, if I was a businessman on the other side, would go, well, then maybe we don't need to do these big things anymore, because people just want to see something, but they don't want to wait for it. Or they don't want to pause and just relax and enjoy it. That whole culture may be a thing of the past, unfortunately. That charm.
It's really sad because, Hollywood Studios, I remember going to the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That was a great show back in the day. That was a while back. And I was a lot younger at that time. But, to go back into parades quickly, that's going to screw all the people that are dancers and a lot of actors. And I don't know what's going to happen to them, because I don't know if Universal is going to pick up the slack or what, but it's terrible.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say, it's hard,
right.
Get vaccinated, everybody. Get vaccinated. I'm going to say it. Get vaccinated. If you love, and just get vaccinated for everyone's sake, right. Even if you don't care about what I did or do, or my colleagues or my industry, do it for your neighbor, do it for your friend, do it for your family. Let's try to everyone misses what it used to be. It'll never be that again, but we can at least get a lot of stuff back, but we just need everyone to jump on board. So please just get vaccinated.
Oh, because you talked a lot about I was going to ask you about your company, but you talked a lot about that. So,
yeah, and if you want to check it out, go to CameronMatthews.com. It's all there for you.
My thing is, and I guess it's on theme parks, and you've worked at Disney for 23 years. You kind of have this feeling, and this is more of an audience question, but half of my question too.
Okay.
We saw, and this is to go in Hollywood Studios, since you've worked there for quite often too, and that was my favorite park until Star Wars just took full control over it. My thing was American Idol Experience. I felt like they put that too late. They should have put it earlier on when the show was, Doug Live was there before.
I loved Doug Live. Oh, gosh, now that was a show.
I don't remember Doug Live, but I
Doug Live.
I used to like Doug when I was smaller and watched him. Was that a Nickelodeon show?
Well, remember, it started on Nickelodeon, and then Disney bought it. Remember, and then the animation kind of changed, and that's when that show came to fruition.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, Nickelodeon was at Universal till 2005. I was like, why would that have been at Disney? Yeah. But okay, now that makes sense. So obviously, Idol, I felt like got there too late because that was kind of in the middle toward the end of before it went off the air. So obviously that was going, and plus Disney, from what I was told by multiple people, that they were paying for the songs, they were paying a lot of money to American Idol in general. Now ABC owns American Idol, so obviously it probably would have been a better fit now, or obviously before Disney.
It would have been now, yes. Yes.
So, I mean, there's not really
a lot less headache, I think.
Right, I agree, because
And
ABC's
that's
better.
way above my pay grade, but
Right, right.
that's what I
So I guess
would say.
ABC, has that. Do you ever see, and this kind of goes into, like you said, about the parades and entertainment industry in general, and theme parks is kind of down in the dumps right now. Do you ever think that Disney would go to, and I know you're not one of the powers that be, but just from jobs that you've done in the past, do you think that Disney would ever go to, even if it was an American Idol experience, something like a talent show or like a Family Feud type of show, and the winner gets like a fast pass for a park for every ride for the day, or something like that, where it's no money?
I don't know. Honestly, I have no I don't know if they'll ever do that again. I mean, they used to do that with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire when they had
Right,
that, and then American Idol was kind of like that.
right,
Um, I don't know. I think, again, just to tag back to what I said, entertainment has changed. Theme parks have changed.
but was
What
this
is
going on before
and what is
COVID?
being offered is different now.
But was this going on before COVID, or do you think this is just a product of COVID?
Oh no, I definitely felt this coming on.
Okay.
Not my layoff, but I definitely have the change,
No.
in my time that I was there. Oh yeah, you could just see as technology, as our phones became more of our life. Yeah, I mean, things just got affected by it, and we would just hear things from guests going, "Oh, I can't stop, sorry," or I'm too busy, or So I just the culture, we've all changed. The world runs differently. So thus theme parks do too. And as Walt Disney always said, this place will never be done. It will always keep changing and growing. Uh, but how that influences what will be offered now, I don't know. I really don't know. Again, someone else's pay grade.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'll end with saying this. My opinion is Walt Disney, if he knew what was going on in Disney World right now, would be rolling over in his grave. That's just my personal opinion, with the prices and the price gouging, in my opinion, and the lack of entertainment and this greediness. I think he would be rolling
Well, and
around in his
I
grave.
would say this, and this is someone who now does not work there, right?
Right.
I would say, if you do miss this stuff and you have invested many dollars of your own money into coming to these theme parks, and you miss things and you want things to return, or write them, reach out to them, email them, call them, let them know what you're thinking. And like I'll say, back to the very beginning, in a professional way, so they don't tune you out, and just hey, I would love if this could come back, or we miss this type of entertainment,
Right.
or we miss this restaurant, or we miss this kind of experience when we go here, just to make it beyond what I did. Let them know. That's
Right.
something you can do. Let them know.
All right. So we'll end it there. Again, Cameron Matthews, CameronMatthews.com. Definitely check it out, Cam. It's been an honor to have you on. I've been really looking forward to this, and you did amazing on it. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you.